Up next, we have Merlin Miller from the American Eagle Party. I'm really happy to have Merlin here. He's been here every year. He's a true champ in my book.
Yeah, it's great to be back. Thanks, James. Can everybody hear okay? Sure, this is coming here. My wife and I just came up a little bit ago, and it's been an honor for us to be here every year for the last several years. And this is a gathering of the real patriots. These are the diehards that come every year and know what's going on in the country. So it's always refreshing to share stories, to talk to everybody and kind of catch up with where we're at as a country and where we're at individually. Pretty exciting this year, what's going on. It's the year of awakening, and there's different levels of this awakening going on, which is pretty refreshing to see. I think the alternative media and people like yourselves and the patriot groups out there are responsible for this. You never know where it's going to have an impact. It's sort of an asymmetric process. We can't really plan what we think we should do and know that it's going to happen the way that we plan it. Things just sort of take their own course. And I've seen this over the last several years, and we've had some pleasant surprises, and we've had a lot of negative surprises. But overall, I'm an optimist now. This year, to me, marks a change in the country, the attitude of the country. I think it takes a lot of people to recognize things are going wrong before people will actually sit up and start to take notice. And I suspect there's still a very small percent of the American people that have come to that realization. But a lot of them know things are wrong, and I think that if the economy should collapse, new false flag engineers another war, there's more social discontent in the country, a lot of people are going to start asking questions, and not just asking, but demanding answers. And that's what our political system has not given us, the tunnels. And it is a New World Order game plan. People want to think of that as just some sort of conspiratorial language, but it's not. It's real. It's happening before us. We look around. It's very obvious to us today. We look at our mainstream media. We only hear one side of the issues. We never get the truths. False flag events are happening all the time. Most people believe them, but more and more they're starting to be so outrageous that people do not believe them anymore. And I think it's gotten to the point now where there are enough of us out there watching and looking for things and ready to pounce on things that the establishment is a little more cautious. And I'm jumping ahead of myself a little bit here, but this year is special in that we have a guy who's an arrogant billionaire who's coming out and saying some of the things that a lot of you all have been saying for years. You know, we need to stop the immigration invasion. We need to secure our borders. We need to bring our economy back. We need to at least reconsider these wars and start talking, start bringing a little diplomacy to our foreign policy. And of course, Donald Trump is not necessarily my hero, but I think he may have the chance this year to either prove himself as a deep controlled opposition designed by the establishment to silence the growing populist movement, the patriots that have been out there demanding action, or he might truly prove to be the champion that we need. And time will tell. We don't know how that's going to evolve yet, but I do believe and I do hope that he will at least bring more discussion and a lively debate to the election process this year. I don't think there are probably very many Hillary fans out here in this crowd today.
I don't think there's a single one.
And I really hope that this gets to be a dirty campaign where they start to bring out all the dirty underwear and reveal some truths that haven't been revealed to the American people. When it comes to the political process, of course, the establishment controls both parties. It's the banker elites. They have one agenda for the Democrats. They have another agenda for the Republicans. And of course, those agendas have kind of merged. They've kind of become one and the same. So very little difference when one party takes over from another party. But I think more and more the people have come to that realization. Third parties, you know, I got actively involved with a third party a few years ago that ran me for candidacy, and of course, no chance whatsoever. But it was an opportunity to get out there, stump around, see what this was all about. And it's virtually impossible for an independent candidate, for any third party, to have a chance to compete. You know, the ballot election rules, the cost of your petition drives, getting on a ballot is just next to impossible unless you have a big infrastructure. And you don't have that big infrastructure with unpaid volunteers unless things are really bad. And that could happen. And that's why I think that Trump has been rolled out to appeal to the populace and the national sentiments out here. So we'll see where that goes, but it could take a life of its own. I'd like to talk a little bit about a party that we formed called the American Eagle Party. We are not a top-down party. I think if any real progress is going to be made in our country, it's got to be at the grassroots level. We've got to take back our communities. What has happened in politics is that it's all centralized now. You know, the authority comes from the federal government trying to impose its will on the states. The state government's now imposing their will on our communities. We've got to cut those cords. We've got to stand as our local communities and say, we want our communities back. We want to educate our kids the way we know is best for our kids. We don't want to take these dictates just because it comes with a little money from the state or the federal government. Because that little bit of money that comes is paid over many times by us in forms of taxes that goes up to the state and goes up to the federal level. So the states first need to start to cut that cord, and especially the donor states that know they're giving more than they're receiving. They need to cut the cord and say, we opt out. We don't want the federal government's money, and we don't want them dictating to us. If we can do that politically, and that's really what the American Eagle Party is about. It's not about running candidates for national office, although at some point in time it'd be nice to do that. But we've got to take back our communities, get behind local candidates, find patriots. We had some veterans that we thought we were going to try to run this year, but I think the phenomenon of Trump and the idea that most people just have given up hope on any third party having any success made them decide not to do that. It's next to impossible to raise money unless you're special interest supported, which means the central bankers, the multinational corporations. You aren't going to get the funds you need to make it successful, to even have a voice out there. And of course, mainstream media won't cover that. I want to talk a little bit about the military because some interesting things are going on. Some of my classmates from the academy are doing some interesting things right now. One of them, David Petraeus, just came back from the Bilderberg assembly, and of course they met over in Europe again. And that's an elitist assembly, and I know most all of you here know that. But they basically are given their marching orders for what they need to do to move forward this New World Order scheme, which ultimately enslaves us. I was very disappointed, of course, because I've known David for a long time. And I thought at one point in time he was going to start to do the right things. They formed a group, I think it's called Veterans Council of Common Sense, something like that, basically to be mainstream media promoted and say, we need to impart a little common sense to gun laws. We need to look at restricting gun access to certain people. And of course, this is all just a slippery slope, designed, of course, to erode our gun rights. And our Constitution, our Bill of Rights is very clear. You know, that our right to have and to bear weapons should be unfringed. You know, we're supposed to have that right. So to me, it's very disappointing to see these kind of things happening, and of course they're very much mainstream supported. To counter those kind of things, we want to penetrate the veterans community and do it on the basis that we want to preserve rights. So we have recently formed a new entity. So in parallel to the American Eagle Party, we've got a group called Veterans League of Honor. It's just been formed as a 501c4. We hope to become a 501c3. Basically to organize patriot groups, veterans, to stand up and say, we do not support undeclared, unjust wars. We do not support the American Republic being an empire to impose its will on other nations. We don't believe in these occupations. We don't believe in drone attacks against civilian populations. We don't believe in torture. Basically to be stand-up people on the basis of that principle honor, as we used to. And I think our military, that the election process has been subverted. But assuming that it's a fair election process and somebody like Trump is going to get in there and have the opportunity to do some of the right things, we need to make sure he doesn't do any major wrong things. And the thing that's most scary to me is, of course, escalating these conflicts in the war and becoming a World War III out of this war on terror. I think that's a very real possibility, perhaps not in a first term, because I think these people do realize that America has been weakened. Our military is very vulnerable right now. Our economy is on the brink. We need to bring America back, and I think from their point of view, at least to a certain level, to where they can then sacrifice us to usher in their new world order. Hopefully we can wake up, we can put enough controls on and demand enough from our politicians to say, we will not support this, we will not support you. And whatever we can do to get in front of somebody like Donald Trump right now and say, it's very important to us that America become, not just make America great again, but what is truly going to make America great again is first make America good again. We've got to do that. And I think we can do some checks and make sure that at least he knows that we're going to be watching out for these things. We're going to be very cautious of false flag events to make sure they're not just engineered to escalate the level of violence. I'd like to basically summarize by saying that, we've got this Veterans League of Honor. You can go to our website. I've got some business cards at a table over there. If you're a veteran, if you're interested at all in being a part of that movement to grow the veteran community, to say, we want our rights back as veterans. We want to stand up for the good things that we, as service members and former service members, want to stand for. If you want to do that, come and get a card from me. Look at our website, veteransleagueofhonor.com, veteransleagueofhonor.com. And if you're interested in the political party, we would love to organize chapters all over the country. And again, it's not top down. This is yours. We have a platform. We have a lot of positions, a lot of support material that I think can be very helpful to you. But that's AmericanEagleParty.com. The last thing that I'd like to offer is that sort of a culmination of my years of research. And I started down tunnels when I met some survivors from the USS Liberty, about 2001, 2002. Shocking to me, I didn't believe it, but it took me down a path of realizing that the world is not as I believed it to be. And this path down these military intrigues led to passive political intrigues, passive media intrigues. And I was fortunate to be a part of the motion picture industry, and I've been able to produce and direct some films, so I know just how controlled that industry is. They are working together. There's symbiotic relationships there that are all working toward our destruction, toward the destruction of everything that our forefathers fought for to build for us. We've got to stand up and say no, no more. We need stand-up people again. And I'm glad to see this year more and more people are getting politically active. Maybe we're finally losing our apathy. Maybe we're finally realizing that there's a lot at stake here. And if we don't win this time, if we don't turn it around, it's too late. We've got to look for other options. My wife and I have 4 daughters. We want to stay here. We don't want to leave this country. It's a country that it's us. We believe in it. We always have. And we've got to fight for it. It's worth fighting for. But this book, I did bring about 15 or 20 copies if anybody's interested. And the way I like to sell this book is it's the connecting of intrigues. If you have friends or family that aren't there, they aren't with you, but they know things aren't quite right, this is the book that I think will wake them up, and it's all truthful. They'll be able to go down this rabbit hole and see how it connects with truths. And even if they don't buy it all, if they buy 50% of it, the other seeds are planted. And over the course of the next year, 2 years, I think they will start to connect the dots themselves, and they'll make sense of it all. So this book is my tool to help awaken those people out there that we may not categorize as patriots yet, but they're patriots in the making. And we've got to do everything we can to get them to wake up. It's the only way we're going to save our country. So I thank you, and again, let's make America good again.